Ooh. Are you still wondering how to find more of your divine clients? Or perhaps you're missing opportunities to show up as an authority in your industry. Today's topic: social influence, how to serve like an expert on social media. Welcome to the Influencer's Journey Show. My name is Taria Hodge, and the big question we set out to answer each week is: how does the average entrepreneur like us, who started with limited time, zero marketing budget, and a little or no online presence, get their authentic message into the marketplace and become a person of influence? And also, what skills must you learn? And most importantly, who are you required to become to magnetically attract your divine client and build a loyal following? Welcome, 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 super achievers. I'm so excited to sit down and have this conversation today. So today we're going to talk a little bit about social influence and what social influence is. But before I go any farther, I think I was having some issues with my sound. So I see that you're out there, Peg. So if you're out there, my dear, just drop me a comment and let me know if you can hear me. So if you can hear me, just go ahead, drop a comment inside of the comment section. Let me know, Taria, I can hear you. And then that way we will continue on with this exciting conversation today. So one of the things that prompted this conversation that we're going to have today is I had a conversation with one of the members of my group in my Content Plan for Profit Mastermind. And it was one of those things at the end of the day when we broke everything down, it came up to being a shift in mindset. So one of the things that we always talk about here is, who are you required to become? So as you take a look at your business, as you take a look at marketing, as you take a look at positioning yourself as an influencer, what are some of the things that you need to grow into? What are some of the things that you need to accept, and how do you up level? That's what I like to call it, up level your mindset to help you achieve these things. And thank you so much, Peg. I see you said that you could hear me and you could see me. All is good. So perfect. And so I thought that this would be a really great conversation, because I remember as I was developing my new brand, Serve, Share, Shine, and I started to take a look at what does it take to show up as an influencer. And as Suzanne and I, we partnered together to bring you this wonderful platform called the Influencer's Journey Show. Some of the things that I had to get present to is that, I was playing on a certain level, but I desired to be at another level. So what does it really take to show up as an influencer? And what I realized is that, I had to take on the mindset of an influencer. So what do people out there who do such a wonderful job of showing up, and not just showing up, but showing up consistently on social media? They're positioning their brand in the marketplace. They have positioned themselves as an expert and an authority in their field or in their industry. So what does it really take to do that? And as I was unpacking that conversation with one of my mastermind members, one of the things that I shared with her is that I had to take a look at all of those characteristics, and then also all of the habits that, the people that I follow as influencers in the marketplace, what are the things that they do? How do they see themselves? And I kind of had to adopt, some of those things as well. So it was a really beautiful, conversation. And I thought that I would bring that conversation here to you guys today. And so one of the things that I'm going to ask you is, how do you feel about your influence in the marketplace? So I'm going to ask you, to do me a favor and just rate. How do you feel about your influence in the marketplace? So do you feel that you show up, consistently in the marketplace? Or how well are you building your brand? Or you feel that you do that very well, Or, are there some areas, some things that you need to grow into? And so if you can, probably on a scale from 1 to 5, just go ahead and let me know where you stand in your mind, in your thoughts of how you show up in the marketplace as an influencer. Okay. And so while I wait for the comments to come in, I'm going to take a minute to welcome everyone to the Influencers Journey Show. So as you join us, make sure you let us know where you are watching from. I know that Peg is already out there with us this morning. So Peg, do me a favor in the comment section. You're not new to this. I know you're true to this, but just let us know where you are watching from, who you serve in your business, how you serve, and how we can connect with you. So if you're out there, you're tuning in, just go ahead, let us know that information, where you're watching from, who you serve in your business, and how you serve in your business, and how we can connect with you. Now, this is something that we ask our super achievers to do every time we meet on the show. Why? Because a lot of virtual networking happens here on the time when we're together, and then also during the week. So we won't know who you serve and how we can connect with you unless you tell us. Okay? And then also, if this topic interests you, do me a favor, take a minute to look below the video and hit the share button. Share this out to another super achiever who you think will be able to benefit from the conversation. Okay? So one of the things that I say all the time, if you have a question, more than likely you probably know 3 to 5 other people that's asking the same question. Okay, so take a minute to go ahead and share this out, with other super achievers, include them in the conversation. All right. And so if you're just joining us, once again, welcome back to the Influencers Journey Show. Today's topic is social influence, how to serve like an expert on social media. So one of the things that I wanted to start off by doing is kind of defining, a couple of things. So I had the opportunity to do an interview on a platform called Chatting with the Experts, hosted by Paula Okane. So Paula, if you're catching this live or if you're catching, this on the replay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to grace your wonderful platform. And so one of the things that I had the opportunity to break down on the platform is how we take a look at social media. So we're going to talk about, what does it really require for us to show up as experts in the marketplace? And we're particularly going to look at social influence. And so one of the things I had the opportunity to share is that there is a success cycle for social media. So a lot of people really didn't know that there's actually a process and there's actually a cycle for you to achieve success on social media. So a lot of times what I've found, and I've done this myself, what I've found, people actually start at the end of the cycle. So people actually jump into the social selling part where you position your brand, you position your services out there to generate leads and, of course, get sales. Okay. And I actually had to learn this, this is actually the last part in the process. And so there's a few other things that need to happen so we could do the social selling and maximize our efforts on the social selling. And so if you've never heard of the social selling cycle, I'm just going to break down. There are 4 steps in the process. And the first step is social listening. Okay, so if you've heard of social listening, go ahead, drop a comment, let me know, yes, Taria, I know what social listening is all about. But if you don't, social listening is actually the act of monitoring and responding and engaging on social media. Okay. And one of the things that I tell people, this is like the most important thing that you could do on your social media is social listening. So a lot of times, and why this is important, because a lot of times, I get this question a lot from my clients. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what my audience wants from me. So how do I know what type of content to create? How do I know the pain points that my divine clients are struggling with, my audience is struggling with? How can I serve them better on social media? And one of the things that I always say this all the time, that social listening is the key to answering this question. So you get the opportunity to, listen, okay? But there's strategies in place in order for you to do that. So it's a specific type of listening that you're supposed to do, okay? And the second step in the process is social influence. And social influence deals specifically with your authority in the marketplace, and then how large are you building your footprint, okay? So the size of your audience and your authority, and we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to dig deep into that today. And then next you have social networking, and social networking is how well you build and establish relationships in the marketplace. And then after you have these three things in place, or all these three things are working, then it creates the fertile ground for social selling to occur. And so one of the things that, I hear people say all the time, I'm out here and I'm doing social media, I'm doing a lot of things, I'm putting out a lot of effort on social, and I'm not getting the return on investment that I desire. And one of the things that I usually say to them is to make sure you take a look at your success cycle. And so are you missing steps inside of your success cycle? And a lot of times when we dig deep into that, then I find that yes, they are missing some of the steps out there. Okay, and so today, like I said, we're going to talk about social influence. And once again, I'm going to go back and define, if you've never heard of social influence, I'm going to take a minute to kind of define that for you. Okay, and so when it comes to social influence deals with two specific things. Number one, influence is the size of your audience. So while you are on social media, are you actively building your brand? And then two, influence is establishing yourself as an authority and how much people trust you. Okay. And so I know that there's a lot of debate out there. People will say, well, I'm not on social media, to collect following or collect fans. People have that conversation all the time. But it is about that. It is about how are you increasing your footprint in the marketplace. So as you establish your brand in the marketplace, you have your message, you're getting your message out there. It's all about how many people you are able to touch with your message. And like I always say all the time, it's how many people that we're attracting with our messaging. So I used to say it all the time. I used to think that I had to go out there and find clients. Okay. And it's not about finding clients. It's being able to show up in such a way that you are attractive. You become like a magnet, like a tuning fork per se, that when people, see your brand, they hear your messaging, they automatically start to resonate with you. Okay. And so what are some of the things when it comes to showing up as an authority in the marketplace? So how are you establishing yourself as an authority? And I'm just going to say this. One of the keys to doing this is make sure that you are always sharing valuable content in the marketplace. So are you using your content as a way to serve your audience? Okay. And being able to do that, not just on your platforms that you own, but also how are you showing up as a resource in other spaces online? So are you actively in communities where you're serving in those communities? And now notice I'm saying serving, I'm not saying selling. So I know a lot of times people think that the serving part of it is like jumping in, into other communities and positioning products and services. But the truth is, people really want to know who they're doing business with, right? So people always check you out all the time. So how are you showing up as a resource? How are you serving online? And are you conscious about the content that you are providing? and we talked about this in a couple of shows ago. I can't remember which one it was, in how to stay consistent online, because that's the thing too that's going to also help you establish yourself as an authority. So when you take a look at being an authority, being an influencer, people expect you to show up. People expect you to be consistent. Okay. And so as you take a look at your social media and you take a look at your marketing, do you have a plan in place that would allow you to produce and deliver content on a regular basis? And then also not just producing and distributing the content, but knowing the type of content that your audience consumes as well. And so that's all part of getting to know your audience, getting to know your divine clients, understanding their needs, and knowing how you could better serve them online. So that's the first thing. Okay. So hopefully that if you did not know what social influence is, hopefully that gave you, a general idea, a broad idea of what social influence is. So if social influence is. And so the next thing, going into one of the questions that I like to always ask is, why are you on social media? Okay, so why are you on social media? And when we talk about showing up on social media, it's not just showing up on social media in a kind of haphazard way. I say it all the time. A lot of times, people do what I call inspirational social media. So what do I mean by inspirational social media? You're only on social media, or you show up on social media when, you're inspired to share content. Maybe there's an event that happens, something, is going on, and you're like, oh, this is a great topic to talk about. And you get on there and you do sometimes what I call like a rant. Okay. And then after the rant is over, you kind of go dormant. People don't really see you again, or you only show up on social media when you have your products and your services to promote, and then people aren't in touch, with your brand. So it's all about being intentional on social media. So one of the things that I say all the time is that you have to plan to be consistent. So as you take a look at your social media, goals, you take a look at the strategies that you're implementing, make sure that you are putting a plan in place that would allow you to be consistent on social media. Because one of the things that we want to always make sure that we're doing on social media is, once again, we are attracting the right people to our brand. We are intentional about building our audience, and we're also intentional about building our tribe of people. And one of the best ways for you to do this is start to think about the experience that you would like your followers, people who connect with you on social media, that you would like them to have. And I say this all the time, like if you stop and you think about the experience and the journey that you would like, to take your audience on, that makes it so much easier to develop your social media plan and put things in place. And think about the experience, because oftentimes I say this, people are experiencing us before we even know that they're experiencing us. So when they land on your social media sites, what are some of the things that they're going to see that would allow you once again to show up as the authority, as the expert in the marketplace? And all of these things take planning. Okay. And so the next question that, or the next area that I want to explore is, what do you want to be known for? So as you take a look at your business, you take a look at your brand, what is it that you really want people to connect you with? And if any of this is resonating with you, just go ahead, drop a comment and just let me know. Okay, like I'm feeling it. Or if you have questions, let me know if you have questions. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you as well. So what is it that you want to be known for? So this is particularly your area of expertise. Now, I'm going to go back to the conversation that I was having with one of my members. And it was, like I said, it was such an interesting conversation. I think I learned as much in the conversation as she did. And so one of the things, as she, is developing her brand and she's exploring, all of the things that she can do on social media, one of the things that came up to mind is like, really, when people encounter your brand, what is it that you want people to know that you do or associate you with? Now, I'm going to tell you, this is probably one of the most challenging things, especially for new entrepreneurs. And the reason why I say this is because one of the things I think everyone could agree is that we all know how to do many things. So do you market all of the things that you know how to do in your business? Or are you narrowing down to that one specific thing that you want people to associate you with in the marketplace? And I want everyone to think about that, okay? So when people take a look or they uncover your social platforms, what is it that they're going to say that you are the expert in? Okay, so not because you know how to do something means that you should be marketing all of the things that you know how to do. Okay, so take a minute to really think about it if you have not already. What is the thing that you want to be known for? And then after you decide on that one thing, right, then what are the steps that you have to take to become known as the expert in that field? So I'm going to share this. And this is like a perfect example. So I fell in love with social media. I wasn't originally a fan of social media, let me just say this. But I fell in love with social media as I started my journey onto entrepreneurship. And the reason why I fell in love with social media is I realized that it gave new entrepreneurs like myself the opportunity to show up like big brands. So I was in the same space, I had the same tools, the same things available as they did. And all it took was for me to go ahead and take advantage of those things. And so that's how I started on my social media journey. Now, I've learned a lot, and I've tell people this, there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of gadgets, softwares, things, and I've played around with almost all of them. Okay? But one of the things that I realized is that, you know what? There was a specific area in social media that people really and truly struggled with that prevented them from showing up. And so what I learned was it wasn't about the technology. And I say this all the time, like technology is so interesting because once you do something 3, probably 4 times, your muscle memory is going to kick in. You're going to remember the keystrokes. Even if you got to write it down, right? You'll be able to remember how to work a software. So I realized that software wasn't really the thing. People was really in their head about showing up on social media. And one of the biggest questions I used to get all the time was, Taria, well, how do you show up consistently every week and do a show? Wow. And what I didn't know at the time is that I had created a process for myself around that. Okay. And that became the thing that I started to teach my clients how to do. So how do you consistently show up on social media? How do you consistently, get your message out in the marketplace? And what does it take to do that? So everything from deciding the topics that you want to talk about, because people say it all the time. How do you find all of these things to talk about? Well, there's a process for you to do that, right? And then when it comes to just going live and doing a production like this, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And how do you do that on a consistent basis? Well, there's a process. And me really digging deep into that and once again, up-leveling my mindset and saying that this is the thing that I want to be known for in the marketplace allowed me to create products, services, and programs around that, specifically to answer the question. So how do you show up consistently on social media? Okay. And so that's what I'm talking about. So as you take a look at your journey and you're saying to yourself, well, how do I get myself established as an expert? How do I get people to see me as the expert? Well, you have to know your stuff, right? And it's not just the content stuff or the material stuff that you have to know, but are you putting processes in place? Do you have frameworks? Okay. And because this is one of the things that I also had to learn in this space. Like if I could do something and only me could do it, probably doesn't really work, right? So can you create like a duplicatable process, for your clients, to follow? And so once again, it's like giving them the blueprint. So once they have the blueprint, are they able to execute on that blueprint and get results as well? So that's part of being able to show up, as an expert, as an authority in your field, in your marketplace. And as you go through your learning and you go through your journey, are you documenting these things? Are you putting these things down? Are you willing to try new things, test new things? That worked, that didn't work. How am I going to go back, modify it? And another thing too, a lot of times we take a look at influencers, we take a look at the gurus in the marketplace, and they say, hey, you need to do this. And then you go ahead and you execute it and it doesn't work for you, right? And sometimes the tendency is to say, you know what, that didn't work, I'm just going to quit the whole thing. But no, it's not about quitting the whole thing. What are some of the nuances? What are some of the things that, you learned, that they perhaps didn't say, or it wasn't their experience? Okay, but you had that experience and you could teach that experience to somebody else. Okay, and so that's what I mean, like being known as the authority, as the expert. How are you going to show up? And I see that Stephanie is out there this morning. Great morning, Stephanie. And Stephanie is saying, your music is a little loud and you're loving the topic. Oh, so that's so interesting, Stephanie. And thank you so much for telling me, my love, because I can't hear it. So I am apologizing to everyone if I've been talking all this time and you're hearing the music in the background. I can't hear it. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with my sound this morning. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for letting me know that. Drop a comment and let me know if it's better now, if you guys could hear me better. Okay. And yes, Stephanie is saying create a duplicatable process, a blueprint that gets results. Document your process along the way. Yes. That's what it's all about. And I see that Peg is out there saying, I would like to be known as a great content creator, the message therapist who. Oh, wait, not the message. Hold on. I got to put on my glasses. This is really funny. Boy, I'm telling you, 50 is treating me wonderful. Yes, the message therapist who massages the word so my clients hit their mark with their marketing. I love it. I love it. I love it, Peg. Thank you so much. For sharing that. And so as you journey on, being known as the message therapist, right? What are all of the things that you are not just consuming around messaging, like reading, and that's also part of us being able to show up as experts in the marketplace. How are we on our journey of continual learning? But the things that you're implementing, the things that you are finding that works, the things that don't work, the little nuances as you put together these things, for yourself, and you're working through it for yourself. How are you able to come back and say, like, okay, so here's the process? Okay, so I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, and then Stephanie is saying it's better. Oh, Lord, why y'all ain't let me know? Oh gosh. Peg is saying glad it was a catchy tune. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Peg, when I got on. Is like I can't hear anything. My sound volumes or anything, that they're where they're supposed to be, but I just can't hear anything. So thank you, ladies, for letting me know. Okay. And then the next question that I'm going to take a minute to answer is, what does your audience really want from you? Okay, so this is also another great and wonderful question. And so, a lot of times, and I've had to learn this because I thought when I first started with social media, my audience wanted, perfection. And what did perfection look like for Taria? Like, my audience wanted all of the answers and expected me to know all of the answers. And I'm going to tell you, it was one of the things that terrified me the most when I first started to do live videos. I actually used to, think in my mind, oh my goodness, what would happen if I turn on my camera and I am doing, a show, I'm doing a live, and someone gets on my live and they ask me a really hard question and I don't know the answer to the question. So, am I going to bomb? Am I going to fail? Am I going to freak out on live camera? Well, one of the things that I had to learn and understand is that, what? People really don't expect for you to be perfect. Okay. They expect for you to show up and be vulnerable, be transparent. And so, if there's a question on the floor that I didn't know the answer to, it's quite all right to say, I don't know the answer to that question. I'll go find it. I'll come back and I'll share that. And so I know that's the thing a lot of times that stop a lot of people from showing up on social media is that they think people want perfection. They think that people want them to have, all of the answers. And this is, how I go back into the hiding on social media. So how many people on, your entrepreneurial journey, you're going through entrepreneurship and you hit a bump in the road, right? And when you hit that bump, it's almost like you disappear because you got to go figure things out. And then when you show back up again, you show back up all perfect. Okay. And I'm here to say that as people, as even as influencers, we all grow. And in order for us to grow, there's always going to be challenges. Okay. So challenges are the beautiful things. What people want to see is, how are you working through your challenges? How are you, the things that you're learning? And like I said, who are you required to become, as you continue on to this journey? And that, when I told you, when I heard that question for the first time, it became the question that started to ignite me. And I started to see things in a different light. So it isn't about me not experiencing challenges, like we all do. But as we take a look at the journey of, growing, who are we required to grow into? Who are we required to become to be able to hold that next level that we are called to be on? So yes, that's the thing. Like, people most people don't expect for us, to show up and be perfect, right? They expect for us to be able to talk about those experiences. And they also expect for us, like when we have the lessons, what did you learn? Okay. What did you learn in that process that you can share with someone else that would help them through their process as well? Okay. And so I see Stephanie. I don't know why I just don't keep my glasses on. So, Stephanie, I see you have a question. What do you do if your client doesn't follow your process and don't get the results and they're unhappy? How do you measure results when you're offering growth? Oh, Stephanie, that is such a great question. And it's one of the things in this space that I too face. And one of the things that I've learned how to do is to refer them back to the process. So I've had, and once again, I have a program. Let me just say this: I have a program that's called Content Plan for Profit, where I share with my clients, specific processes that would allow them to show up and position themselves in the marketplace, get their message out there, and build brand awareness. Okay. Now, I get all kinds of questions down to what should I, be talking about? What should I share? I don't know the pain points, of the things that my audience is struggling with, all the way to I did this and it didn't work. And oftentimes, Stephanie, when I do those calls and I start to backtrack and I say, did you do this? Did you do this? And let's take a look at this. Okay. What I find is like there are pieces that are missing. And so sometimes people have the tendency, to want to do the things that are comfortable, the things that come easy, the thing that comes natural to them. Okay. But the things that kind of challenge and push us a little bit, those are the things that we're resistant to. But oftentimes, those are the things that's required to make the thing work. And so I'm going to just recover. I'm just going to cover this again because I started at the top of the broadcast, specifically talking about social media and the success cycle of social media. Now, I'm going to tell you this. When I started on the journey, Taria didn't know anything about a social success cycle. What I heard and what I was told is that social media has billions of people on it, and in a sea of billions of people, I can go ahead, position products and services, and because of the sheer number of people, people will buy, and I'll be successful on social media. Now, I'm going to tell you, the throwing the spaghetti on the wall will give you some success, okay? Because I've experienced some of that success. But here's the thing, here's what changed. That was early on in the days, back in the day. So as more people got tuned into social media and more entrepreneurs like myself started to position in the marketplace, social media became a very crowded place. And so the question became, what is it that I had to learn, to do in order, to sustain myself and build my brand on social media. And so that's when I learned that there's actually a cycle to this. Okay. And so I covered this in the top of the broadcast. There's actually four parts to it. So it's the social listening, social influence, social networking, and then social selling finally. And so going back to your question, Stephanie, when people say to me that they aren't getting results, usually one of the pieces is missing. Okay. And for each of those pieces requires strategy. It requires having a process in place, having a plan in place, to do all of those things effectively. Okay. And so, yes, if you have your process, you have your framework, Stephanie, and you find people, aren't following the process, refer them back to the process. Okay. Because after all, you are the expert. Okay, you are the expert. So I hope that that answers your question. So I see that Peg is out there saying, "Oh, great question, Stephanie, and terrific answer, Taria. Thank you. Refer them back to the process." Yes, because if we don't refer people, back to our process, then what we do is we are diminishing our status as the expert. Now I'm going to tell you the reason why I could say this is that there have been times where I faltered. So sometimes you have that one client that might be a little bit intimidating. How many of you have ever felt intimidated by a client? I know I have, right? And that client comes and says, "Hey, I did X, Y, and Z," and for some reason in your mind you rethink your whole process. Okay, no. Okay, there's a reason why you have a process. There's a reason why you've developed the framework. Okay, so refer them back to the process, and like I said, that's the growth. Hold their feet to the fire. And so, Stephanie, that leads into your next question. Have you ever fired a client? Now, child, let me tell you this. It is the hardest thing to do in business, where to work with clients that are resistant to your process. They're not open to learning. And so, yes, the answer to the question is sometimes you gotta let them go. So someone could be a paying client, and let me be clear about this. So not all money is good money, Stephanie. Let me just say that. So if you have a client, and even though they're making their payments on time, the money is good, if they're not, I'm searching for the word. If they're not coachable, that is exactly the word. If they're not coachable, then you have to let them go. Because think about it. We did not step on into this journey to get up upset, uncomfortable, angry, all of that stuff. I know I didn't sign up for that. And when you get to the point where you have clients that you're dreading having calls with, you're dreading meeting those clients, then it's time to let the client go, because you're not going to be able to serve them in the manner that they deserve to be served. So it's okay to say, you know what, this isn't a fit. This isn't, working out, for both you and I. Okay, bless and release them. Okay, bless and release them, and then allow them, to work with someone else, who will be able to serve them, on the level that they need to be served on. Okay, and so yes, Stephanie, I have let clients go, and also clients who were paying clients. Okay, so once again, if you are not coachable and you're not willing to do the work, then what's the point? And then so Stephanie is saying, do you refund or stop payments? Oh boy, Stephanie, this is going down a whole different track. We might need to have a call. We might need to have a call about that, Stephanie. Because that's not the direction I want to take this conversation in today. Okay, but I'll reach out to you, my dear. Okay, and I'll have a call with you around that. Okay, and so I see Facebook user is saying out there, they understand I'm the consultant, the dictator, my way. Yet will listen to you and take what they say into consideration. If it double, yeah. If not, tell why it isn't, and keep it moving. Pushback by Felicia or Fred. Okay, so I don't know who the Facebook user is. Okay, so that's Nisi. Hi, Nisi. And I know Nisi will always bring the real to the conversation. So Nisi said, "Hey, look, one thing you need to know here is that I'm the expert." So I like that, Nisi. I'm the expert. Okay, and so and Nisi is also bringing up a good point. So this is the thing that I talk about in clients being coachable. So there's a difference, okay, in having a client that you are working with and they're coachable and they have concerns. So maybe they're working, on something or implementing, a process, and they're having hiccups. Okay, it's one thing to say, to bring back and say, hey, look, I did this XYZ, that didn't work for me. What else can I do? Can we take a look at this? Can we map out something? And then you're journeying along with the client. So that's how I like to put it. Okay, like I'm right there with you. Okay, so I'm taking a look at all of these things, but the thing that I'm talking about that's not acceptable is the client who is totally resistant. Okay. And so if there's a process and you're not following the process, you don't want to do the work. Okay. Then what's the point? Okay. So if you're doing the work and this is the data that's coming back, this is, what you experience, we could always flush those things out. But for you to not do the work, that's a whole totally different situation. Okay. So Peg, I love you. I love you. Y'all are breaking it down today. So Peg is saying clients that create frustration and aggravation cannot possibly pay enough to make it worth it. All that, no refund, cut the cord and move on, open a space for new and wonderful clients. And Peg, you are absolutely correct because, like I said, it's one of the things that I've learned, on my journey. Okay, is that I did not step on to this journey, to be frustrated and have people frustrated with me. Okay. And it's actually in my vision. I say it all the time. I work with, beautiful people in beautiful spaces. That's the thing. And we're locking arms and we're journeying together. Okay. And so nowhere in that, is the rub and is the frustration and the fight. It should not be, that fight. Okay. And so, like I said, there's nothing wrong with, acknowledging that there are bumps along the way and how you're working through the bumps, but for, a client to, not heed to your expertise, totally unacceptable. Okay. All right. And so great conversation, ladies. You guys kept me on my toes this morning. So the next thing that I want to take a minute to jump into, what does it take, to create your message in the marketplace? And Peg, I'm so glad that you joined us this morning. So take a minute, to, if you would like to, like, some of the things that you have learned to do, like in your business, in order to create your message in the marketplace. And so while, I'm just singling, I just called your name, Peck, because you said that you're the message creator. You're helping people create their message. So I'd like to, hear from you. But anybody else, what is it that you're doing, out there, that would help you develop your message in the marketplace? And so one of the things that just gonna go ahead and share. This is one of the things that I did not get also earlier on when I started, when I launched my brand the first time. And I thought that it was all about sharing the the how of what I did, like the tips or tools, or this is what you need to do. Okay. And I really didn't understand that I had a message to share. Okay. And one of the things that it took for me in order to put the messaging together is that I had to go back and really address, those things that I was challenged with. And so you hear me talk about, how to stop hiding on social media. And so one of the things that, prompted me to have that be a part of my message is because those are the things that I struggled with. Those are the things that I was challenged with. Okay. Hiding out on social media. So, and like I said, I understand fully that with social media, part of it is technology, but the technology isn't the biggest thing. The biggest thing is what goes on, up here in our minds. And as influencers, how do we take all of the things that we're challenged with, all of the things that we're learning and we're growing into, and package that, as beautiful messaging into the marketplace that acts, as a beacon. That's what I like to say. It acts like a shining light in the marketplace that would allow us to attract, our divine people, the people who we are specifically called to serve. Okay. And I had to understand that, and I had to learn that. And it was one of the things, going back to you, Stephanie, in saying that, what? I'm not here to serve everyone. Okay. They're people that I'm divinely called to serve. But you know what? Those people won't be able to find me unless I show up. Okay. So, what does it take for me to show up and show up consistently, be the expert in the marketplace, be seen as the authority, build relationships, all of that good stuff. Okay. And then be able to serve them through my products and services. Okay. So if you haven't been thinking about that, that's what it's all about. We all have a message, to share out there. And so what are you putting in place that would allow you to share your message online? Okay. And so I'm going to opening it up once again for any more questions, any more shares. This has been such a great conversation this morning. So thank you so much for your input. And so Peg is saying, I tune in for Turia's lessons weekly, and I learn lots from other influencers too. Know who you can learn from and be consistent in that learning, and then apply what I've learned. See what works best, learn more, wash, rinse, repeat. The consistent action is magic. And Peg, you have hit it directly on the head. Okay. And it's all about what are we learning. And so one of the things that I share with my clients, and I'll just share with everyone, it's all about being in the state of consistent learning. Okay. So in your field, who are you studying? Okay. And all the way around, do you have a process for learning? And even learning has a process. So do you have a process, that would allow you to stay in a constant state of learning and growing? What does that look like? And so, for me, one of the things that I do, like every single morning, I read, I journal, I read and journal. Okay. Read and journal. And the things that I read, I journal. What am I learning from those things? Okay. I'm committed to learning new things in my industry. And the things that I'm learning in my industry, how am I implementing those things? So, am I going out there? Am I testing it? Am I testing it on my brand first? Am I doing it for myself first? And then after I've done it, for myself, what have I learned from that? What worked? What didn't work? Okay. What do I need to change? What was the piece that I saw that was missing, that this influencer, didn't talk about or didn't share, because they have a totally different experience, or they're at a different level in their business than I am in my business. Okay. So all of these things are important things. Okay. And then when you have, like I said, the framework, you have the blueprint that works. Okay. Then you go ahead, you teach it. Okay. Is it working for others? What needs to be tweaked? And after you got it, then I love what Peg says: wash, rinse, repeat. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. All right. And so the last thing that I am going to share is five steps, five things that you can do that would allow you to create consistency in your social media. So once again, our topic today is social influence, how to be seen as an expert. Okay. And on social media. So five things. And this is the secret sauce to it. And I always say this: consistency is the secret to success. If you ask any guru, ask any top person, they're going to say success isn't like the big things, but it's the small things that we do on a consistent basis that would allow us to be successful and remain successful. Okay. So, five things in, or five steps to creating consistency in your social media. So, the first thing, and this is one of the things, and these are the things that I share, with my clients all the time, so I'm happy to share them with you today. So the first thing, set a schedule and stick to it. Okay, so if you're still out there and you're struggling with your social media because you find that it's one of those things that's taking up a lot of your time, and oh my gosh, I don't want to be glued to social media, set a schedule and stick with it. Okay, so create a schedule that works for you. So one of the things that I tell people all the time, doing a show became very easy for me because I wasn't just randomly turning on my camera whenever I felt like it and doing Facebook lives. One of the things I realized that, what, if I wanted to get done and I wanted to get good at it, I had to set a date and time to do it, hence Saturday morning 10 a.m. There you go. Okay. And then the second thing, break your big things down into smaller pieces. So, how many of you set out to do a task, right? And there's a million pieces in this task that you're doing, and you try to execute on a million things all at one time. Producing, a show like this has a lot of moving parts to it. Okay, so I amazing and I'm great, but I'm not that great to get up, think of a topic in the morning, get dressed, put my ideas, my conversations together, all the pieces to go mess with technology, all that stuff in an hour before the show. So what do? I take a minute during the course of the week is it in taking a look at all of the things that it takes to produce, and I break those things down into bite-sized pieces during the course of the week. And the end result is a show like this on Saturday mornings. Okay. The third thing I want to share with you is how are you monitoring and adjusting your progress? Okay. So as you take a look at your process, you take a look at the things that you're doing. What are some of the things that's working well? What are some of the things that aren't working well? Okay, what can you keep? What can you do away with? Okay, and this is one of the things that, like I'm telling you, that a lot of people don't do is that inventory. Okay, so sometimes you got to stop, you got to take inventory, you got to adjust your process. So, how are you adjusting the process to make things easier? Okay, and then the fourth thing, how are you celebrating your success? Okay, so don't forget, reward yourself for getting the thing done. So a lot of times we beat ourselves up for the things that didn't get done, but celebrate the things that you did get done. And then lastly, who do you have as your support? Are you surrounding yourself with people who are encouraging you, people who are motivating you, people who are inspiring you, and most of all, people who are holding you accountable to staying consistent? Okay. So, those are the five things that when I break my process down for social media, those are the five things that, that I have to anchor to, that help me along my journey in being consistent on social media. So I hope those things help, you guys today as well. Okay. And so once again, I can't believe our time goes by so quickly on our show. So we're at the top of the hour, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave you with the thought of the week. And the thought of the week is we have a responsibility to influence people in our lives to be the best that they can possibly be. So, therefore, encourage each other and build each other up. And that's by Henry Cloud, John Townsend. Oh, okay. I was reading your message, Stephanie. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Dr. Barrett Matthews is one of my dear friends, and has been, a friend by my side, colleague by my side from the beginning of my journey. Me and Barrett, we go way, 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 way back. So I'll let him know that you were on today. So thank you so much for that, Stephanie. All right, and super achievers. Um, as always, as we wrap today's conversation up, know that you are brilliant, know that you are special, and the world is waiting on your unique gift. Thank you, take care, and see you guys next week. Bye bye.